Hello, I'm Joe Screbbles, and we are about to run through a mission from the Spooky Trails area of the upcoming Mario Plus Rabbids Kingdom Battle. Let's jump straight into it, shall we? So let's jump in. This is the team select screen. Immediately, you can tell that there's a lot more stats than you might expect from
a lot of numbers here, Joe.
There's a lot to concentrate on. I wouldn't think about it too much.
I say there's a lot of numbers, like 5 numbers.
There's 5 numbers, but there's also lots of words like itchy feet. So this is where you choose your team. You always have to have Mario, and then you get to choose 2 others. They've got huge skill trees that unfortunately I don't show you here, but they overlap quite a lot. So really, there's not a massive amount of difference between characters.
So part of it's like who you like the look of.
It kind of is. And then you've got your weapon select as well. So every character is tied to a weapon type and a secondary weapon type, but then you get differences between them. So you can see here, honey damage and push damage. They're 2 different kind of effects that can be applied to enemies.
What is honey damage?
It sticks them in place, like
that kind of makes sense.
Winnie
I feel
the
a little
Pooh.
foolish now.
No, don't feel foolish. Just feel ashamed. So I'm just kind of working my way through, picking weapons. They gave us an ungodly amount of money to spend at this point, so I was just like, let's pick all the best stuff. And then we'll get started. So this is the mission. The worlds are all tied together as one giant string, but you get stuck in these particular combat areas. This is a reach area, so I've got to get from where I start over there, in the lovely depth of field, to this yellow zone here. One character getting to that yellow zone lets me win the match.
Is it? And this is, where is this in the game? Is this late on?
This is about 3/4 of the way through, so there are 4 worlds, and this is the 3rd world.
This is the spooky one.
This is the spooky world. You've got to have one of those in Mario. Mario loves a bit of spook. You know what I mean?
That's okay.
Yeah, but it's just interesting to me that there's always spookiness. He's such a fun-loving guy.
And this is definitely the first time you played this mission, isn't it, Joe?
No. I did lose catastrophically once before this.
So this is the 3rd or 4th worlds. This is like a bit more tricky.
It's genuinely, and I think a lot of people were worried about this beforehand. They thought it was going to be very simplistic. It's actually quite hard, in a really gratifying way. When I completed this, I was very happy, and we'll get to why.
Okay, so out of E3, everyone made the simple conclusion that this is like Mario XCOM. Now, I don't play strategy games. I know nothing about XCOM, and despite my erudite facade, I'm actually a moron. Can you just explain what's going on here?
Yes. So, your team of 3 can, each of them can move once, use an attack once, and use a special ability once. You can see those through 3 different elements at the bottom. There's a huge emphasis, particularly on movement here. So you just saw that my Rabbid Yoshi jumped off of my Rabbid Peach, and then he gets to move. He can move. Well, he moved beforehand to get there. So you can essentially chain together 2 moves, or even you can use dashes, which are attacking an enemy in a melee attack, which then lets you move again afterwards. So you can get up to about 3 moves a turn if you've comboed well enough. The idea is essentially, well, in this mode, as I said, it's getting from one end of the map to the other. So using as effectively as possible all my different abilities to get as far as possible. You'll see me comboing like a genius right now. So this is Mario's ability, which in XCOM is called Overwatch. Here it's called Hero Sight. So any character that moves near him, he will shoot, and he could shoot up to 2 characters who move. Now, my Rabbid Yoshi has this thing called Scaredy Rabbid, which scares them into moving away, at which point Mario gets to do the coolest combo attack in Mario history, which is shooting that man into the sky until he disappears.
So you have, using strategy, chain those together. Okay.
I have indeed. So,
well done, Joe.
Thank you very much. But this is what I find really enjoyable about this game, is there's this, the kind of core currency of the game is how far can you get, or how much can you do in as few abilities as possible, which is, again, a lot more thinking than you'd expect from a Nintendo branded game. So this is me just cleaning up right now, just absolutely battering some Rabbids.
So who are we fighting here? Who are the enemies?
We are fighting mutated hybrid Rabbids, which have been created by a sort of strange, scared thing called Spawny. They won't tell us what the full story is, but he's essentially a Rabbid that fuses other Rabbids with whatever's near them. So in this case, pumpkins or suits of armor and that kind of thing. And they're your enemies. Now, you're not killing them when you shoot them. I want to make that clear. You are unspawning them. You're kind of removing the Rabbids from their strange object prison that they've been put in, which is quite I don't know, it's weird. As you can see, that was one of those weapon abilities, so I got bounced off the map, which does an extra bit of damage to me.
Again, as someone who might not have played XCOM, that was the opponent's round, wasn't it?
That was the
and you were
opponent's
just
round.
like, and you were like speeding through
I was
that.
just in fast forward,
Okay.
yeah. Which is a thing that gives you really early on, which is quite nice once you've got the kind of hang of knowing what the opponents do.
Yeah, because I guess
it's
the temptation
good.
is like you would speed through it, but you need to know what they're doing. Yeah.
Precisely. You can also see boos, and boos were introduced to us just before this level, which was slightly strange. The boos are, I would describe them, Daniel, as an enemy-agnostic third team. And
That's why you get paid the big bucks, Joe.
That's exactly right. What they do is they have their own turn and they move randomly around the map, and they kind of act like evil landmines. If you walk past one, it attaches itself to you, and then at the end of your turn it will transport you somewhere else. You'll see this happen to me later on when I make a huge mistake.
I've never thought of a landmine being agnostic, but
Agnostic ghost landmines.
Yeah. Okay.
But there's something really, again, there's something pleasantly strategic about that. The idea that I'm now having to consider two different teams' movements, but also being able to maybe play them off against each other. Like if I had an ability that pushed someone when I hit them, which does exist, I could try and push someone into one of those boos so that they get attacked by them. And again, I really love the animations in this game. Like, it occasionally does these zoom-ins, which again are familiar to players of turn-based games like this. But there's just something really nice about how sort of squishy and strange a lot of these character models are.
Like, I'm just going to go on a slight tangent here. So, like, obviously, Rabbid Peach has absorbed some of her sass.
Yes.
That's what. But like, Rabbid Yoshi, does he think he's a dog?
I don't really know. Rabbid Yoshi makes me feel a bit uncomfortable, Daniel. He's got a very
That's
strange
insane.
aspect. Oh, there he goes. I bounced him onto another platform. God, I'm good. Golden
Again,
shot.
not the first time you played this.
Absolutely not. There's also an onus on collecting coins, which lets you buy new weapons. Those you don't have to pick up by running over them. It's just moving your camera over them. And you can also pick them up after the game's done. But it's just a nice little bonus. And it has a very, it has that Mario sheen. So yeah, cover's a big thing in this. Cover can be destroyed quite easily, and again, there's a lot of thinking about if I'm not going to go in that area of the map, do I need that cover to be there? And if not, should I blow it up so that the enemy can't use it? And then there's a really nice thing it does, which just a tiny little detail, but as I said, these worlds are strung together as various component parts, so you can come back and walk back through this area when you're done. There's a really nice touch, which is any cover you've destroyed stays destroyed. And so it makes it feel like you are actually walking through a place and changing it as you go, which I really liked.
Do you know how like large these individual worlds are? Like how many of these like...
So I couldn't say for sure. I believe that this is something like the 8th fight. But then the worlds also have puzzle areas. And we sort of got a fly-through of a full world. And they are massive. Like, I'm sure you're walking through quite a lot of it, but they're really sizable, and they have sort of mini journeys built into them. So areas will change in style, and music will change, and lighting will change as you move through, to give this idea that you aren't just in one place, you're in a changing place as you walk through it, which I really like.
What's happening here? Why are they all on like blue electricity?
So that was Mario's other ability, which powers up himself and anyone around him with extra damage when he does it there. You can see Rabbid Yoshi's secondary ability is a grenade in the shape of a rubber duck, but in this case, it's called the Sam Kingfisher, which is kind of emblematic of. Oh, there goes the cover.
The lesser known Sam Kingfisher.
Yeah, it's kind of emblematic of the game's approach to references. It loves to just sort of it pokes at the existence of everything else from Ubisoft and Nintendo's history. So that's obviously a Splinter Cell reference, but it will reference Mario Kart, and there's this strange implication. They won't talk to us about the full story, as I said, but there's this strange implication that maybe some of our world has fallen through into Mario's world. So there's like giant toilets, like real toilets that you or I would use of a day, just sort of in the world. And it's never... Well, they haven't really explained why yet.
Did you not ask them this question?
I did, and they wouldn't tell me. There we go. So that's the boo attached to me there. I've made a big mistake.
What kind of toilet does Mario use? Do we not know that? Does Mario
It's
even go to the
probably
toilet?
got like very soft edges and it's like rounded and cartoonish.
Wart pipe.
But it is. Well, you say that. There is quite literally a statue in the game of a Rabbid, let's say, making use of a warp pipe in that fashion. Like, that's just in this game. It's so...
That's naughty, that.
How have Nintendo allowed this to be made? I don't know, but I'm glad. So here's me using as much of the comboed movement as I can. You'll also see that this is where my Rabbid Peach movement has gone very wrong. So she's my healer. The Boo is now transporting her away from my offense characters who are already injured, and right in the middle of other people attacking.
Well, there's no cover because you blew it up.
Yeah. So this became quite fraught at this point. I just decided I had to plow on and hope that my guys didn't die. I was also coming to the end of my play session, so I was genuinely under quite a lot of time pressure. So I'm getting towards the end of the level now, and this is where you see, well, both my huge mistakes. As you'll see, I'm about to use the Tacticam because I've tried to use that same combo I did at the start. Unfortunately, I've completely misjudged how big the area of effect is.
Right, got you.
So that Tacticam shows exactly the distance of whatever ability you want to use at that time, how far you can move, how far you can shoot, that kind of thing. So I kind of screwed that up. I promise I'm all right at this game.
Yeah, all right, mate.
So yeah, I was trying to make Mario shoot those guys. I couldn't. Luckily, they move just enough so that Mario shoots them anyway, and that's quite good.
So you giving up on Peach? She's gone.
Peach is dead to me, as far as I'm concerned. She's actually a very useful distraction because lots of the AI started just going for her.
Got you, yep.
As you can see, they're spawning around her now. This final turn, I'm actually very proud of because Mario's poisoned. He's going to die at the end of the turn. I move him here and I realise that neither of my guys is going to be able to get through that pipe in the top right, which would take me through to the final zone.
Oh, the yellow zone, right, got
exactly.
you. That's the end.
So after I've just taken my sort of like slightly annoyed pot shots at these guys, I kind of had to work out how I was going to finish this level without getting killed. I slightly spitefully I'm about to use her secondary ability, which is a truck that trundles around and then explodes, and it can travel through pipes, which is its main sort of benefit over other people's explosives, but it just blows up as soon as it sees someone it wants to blow up, which is slightly irritating. But I was, as I said, she's dead to me. I do use the dash ability here, so you can see comboing movement through warp pipes, using a dash, and then getting an extra bit of movement afterwards. No point to it. Wasn't going to help me at all. I just sort of wanted to do it.
Gives her a little moment. I like sliding to cover, like base.
Also, kicking a ghost is fun. But I realise here that I can actually use a team jump to get into the zone.
Ah, lovely.
So you're sort of using the combos to try and break the rules of the world, which I really like. And there you have it, I win. And apparently, I'm perfect.
I'm really glad you did that, otherwise that would have been a terrible end to this video.
Would have been horrible. So, that was Spooky Trails. If you want to see more of Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battle, you can check out our video of the game's co-op mode, or you can check out our interview with Yves Guillemot and Shigeru Miyamoto, fresh from having announced it at E3.